Santiago reported this morning, PSG have made a contractual proposal to Jadon Sancho. Their positions are close together. Personal terms are close together. From Parisian sources, the Manchester United winger is extremely excited about the project presented by PSG. It remains to be seen whether Manchester United will wish to release their player at what price. So it's an interesting one. The reason I was saying it's an interesting one is because he is now back. He is now back, and he played a game at the weekend. He looked pretty sharp at the weekend. But in terms of the grander proposal, the wider picture, maybe nothing has changed with Jadon Sancho. He's just back in training, but it's still Manchester United are looking to sell him. If the right price is there, maybe he's like, I know I'm back. And I said to Eric, yeah, we're cool now. We've drawn a line under it, and we have drawn a line under it. So there's a possibility I could stay. But in reality, I still probably want to leave if the option was there. What do you think happens with this one? Is there something in this?
I was saying this to KG. Like it was music to KG's ears when obviously the Sancho thing kind of it was like, right, he's back in training, he's a good player. Which that could still happen. He could still stay. But I said, I know, we need to look at this properly. Like from a business point of view, if you've got Jadon Sancho back at Carrington, right, and Man United are trying to sell him, he still wants to move away from the club. But you have him exiled training by himself. From a pure business point of view, you've lost your leverage. You've lost all sort of leverage that you want to have in trying to sell this player. Because if I'm the buying club, I'm going to come in, I'm going to lowball you. I'm going to say, here's 20 million, mate. You need to get him off your books. He's got loads of wages. He don't want to play for you. You don't want him back. He's training. He's not even fit now as well. He's not participating in pre-season. He's not sharp. We've got to build him up again. So his price is just going to get further and further reduced. Whereby, if you play it this way, yes, it is a bit of a shock initially for a few hours for the fans. Like, oh my God, he's back. Oh, they said, oh, Eric's saying some good stuff about him. But if you play it this way, to the outside world, it's like, well, this is a player that Man United have reintegrated back into their squad. He's on pre-season tour, so he's fit. They're happy to keep him if the right bid doesn't come in. But if we want him, he's in good nick. He's played all the back end of last season, and he's played in pre-season, so he's sharp. And we have to pay what it is that they want to pay. If you show all your cards and just show that he's just training with the kids and eating lunch by himself still, you lose all your bargaining power. And I'll back that up. I'll go one further. We was actually speaking to people yesterday in United. Not yesterday. When did we get back? The day of the game. Was that day? When was that? Saturday. We speak to people at United, and I said to somebody in the staff, I said, oh, like, how's Jadon been since he's been back? I said, yeah, very polite. He's been good. And KG was sort of saying, yeah, I mean, you know, he could stay and just that and the other. And we both said, yeah, that's an option. So then I sort of brought that take I had, I sort of brought it forward to the staff member. Sort of saying, well, I saw it as like, you know, keep the value high, show that everything's good. Because if you do want to sell him, and the staff member was like, exactly that. He said, we need to have some form of, you lose your bargaining power if we have him just exiled. So I'm led to believe, or I was told, I wasn't rebuffed anyway. I was sort of, that was in agreement within that conversation of like, actually, yes, this is
all options are open, basically.
All options are open, exactly. Doesn't mean he won't go PSG. I'm not surprised to see this. I'm not surprised to see something else. But it also means he'll be professional. He'll go to pre-season tour. You know, if the right bid and the right sort of money doesn't come, clearly the manager said, listen, he can be part of the squad. He'll have to earn his place. I hope it clicks. So if he stays, he stays. That to me is INEOS pulling rank and saying, right, we've got an asset here, right? I know what it was kind of what we said could happen. They've come in and said, right, we've sold one asset in Mason Greenwood for the fee we thought was right. Sancho's the next one. However, to give ourselves the best opportunity of selling him, Eric, it's gone past the 8th of July now. He's got a report back. We've got to integrate him in. We have to show that that's in the past and Sancho's now, you know, a normal player again. It is. If you want to buy this player, he costs this. Forget what's happened in the past. That's not what's happening now. He's fine. He's on tour. He's playing. He looks sharp. He played for Dortmund back end of the season. If you want him, it's this much. Eric, if we get the right bid, we'll sell him and you can have the money to do something else. If we don't, he's going to be in the squad. I think it's as simple as that.
Yeah, it's interesting. It's an interesting one. I think it's an interesting one because when you do take a step back, and just because he's back and he played at the weekend, which, to be honest, if you'd have said to someone 3 months ago, Jadon Sancho is going to be involved pre-season, playing games, you'd be like, absolutely no chance. That's not going to happen. Because that happened, I mean, maybe I think the idea had maybe crept into the minds that, oh, actually, he could stay. And if he does stay, what does that look like? And could he be an asset to us this season? And as I mentioned, Saturday, he looked pretty sharp. He looked pretty good. He looked good last preseason too. So you go, oh, okay, how does he kind of fit in? And part of the thought process, I suppose, was too, like, we had heard maybe Juventus might be interested, but Dortmund couldn't afford it. Juventus couldn't afford it. So there was another school of thought, which is, well, United have decided to bring him back and integrate him back in. And everyone's decided to sort of draw a line in the sand because no one was really that interested. So you had to kind of be like, wow, just got to get on with things then.
Exactly.
But at the same time, I mentioned this to KG. We did an episode of the Trinity, a live one, the day after it happened. And I mentioned that if he still is like, I still probably would want to leave the Manchester United, then he should leave. Then they should be the
Absolutely.
same. We'd all, prior to him returning, earmarked him as someone that was going to raise a lot of money for us this summer when it comes to the transfer window. Now, we've already made 2 signings. If he wants to go and PSG are interested, and PSG always have a lot of money anyway, but now, because of the Mbappe situation where they've got this huge ability to maneuver in the transfer market from an FFP situation because of the Mbappe absence, with the wages that he was on, etc., then Manchester United can charge 50 million for Jadon Sancho and see what happens. And it's not as if it's a Jadon Sancho hasn't played in that much time. He's actively in pre-season. He played on Saturday. So he's ready. He's ready to go. So I think if Manchester United play it right, they could get themselves a good deal. Sancho could go to a place if he wants to go there, of course, that he could be happy and could be playing. And Manchester United can put that back into the transfer market once again and fund. I mean, maybe this involves in the Ugarte situation in the first place, right? We know that United are negotiating with PSG. We know United aren't going to pay, how much did they want? Was it 50 odd million euros, something like that for Ugarte? We know United aren't going to do that. There was a discussion about a loan with an option to buy. Maybe, I don't know, maybe there is a problem in that.
Somehow,
of course,
some way.
Jean-Claude Blanc, as KG always said, he's got very strong ties to PSG, so there's inroads there anyway. The dialogue's not very,
loads of options,
fractured or anything. So I think everything's on the table.
There's loads of options. This one. Everything's on the table, and that's why I think it's fairly easy to see what's going on here. Like, as soon as it was that Sancho's, in training, the initial thing I was like, wow, I just didn't think I'd see that, and even like in the game when I was seeing him, like, I was like, I just didn't ever think I would ever see this. But it became, even before the game kicked off, after like a few days of me knowing he was in training, I was like, that doesn't mean he's definitely staying. It doesn't mean that. It doesn't. If anything, it just rang the alarm bell in my brain of, like I said, straight away, this is our saving phase and making sure all options are open and we don't actually snooker ourselves into having just one decision. Because again, how Man United have run of old, again, how you perceived in the market, oh, let's get this player back who has a clear problem from last year and now he's training by himself, but we want to sell him. You've just literally halved the price of your asset by doing that. It was different because the season was on and the transfer window wasn't there yet and you was waiting for it to get to January so he could go on loan. That's different. Now you actually want a permanent resolution to this. So you have to keep your asset as valuable as you could possibly make it. And I know these are human beings and stuff, but in business terms, in football, in a transfer market, he's a valuable asset to a team that wants him, who knows he's a good player, and to us who potentially want to sell him, and to him where he wants to leave. Yeah. But I think it's completely the right thing to do by saying, I tell you what, get back in. Eric, you must draw a line under this. We're not allowing you to say, I don't care, he's not in my training session because he didn't say so. No, he's now an asset and we're in control now. You're going to have him.
We shouldn't assume that Eric's hand was forced in it either.
Because... Yeah, well, he would have been encouraged to do it, and he did it as well. Yeah. Because obviously, he didn't want to do that before. That was clear. He's like, unless he says sorry, he's not coming back. But clearly, Eric, like you said, has gone as well. Yeah, you know what? It's because it's a new start for Eric as well.